Corporate Social Responsibility (CSR) Reporting. A corporate social responsibility (CSR) report is used by companies to share information with stakeholders about their efforts in areas like ethics, sustainability, philanthropy, and their impact on the environment, employees, and the community. The report highlights the company's strengths, achievements, and future goals. Stakeholders are groups or individuals affected by the company's actions, such as employees, customers, suppliers, communities, and policymakers. In the US, there are no strict rules for CSR reporting, but companies may include it alongside their annual report or on their website, with varying formats. Data ethics. Definition of data ethics. Data ethics is the area of ethics that deals with the moral responsibilities related to collecting, using, and sharing personal information. It covers issues like fairness, privacy, transparency, ownership, and accountability. Personally identifiable information (PII) is any data that can identify an individual, either on its own or when combined with other information. Ethical data use builds trust, while misuse can harm a company's reputation. People own their personal data, not the companies that collect it. Ethical handling means being clear about how data is used, taking responsibility if something goes wrong, protecting data from misuse, honoring the trust people place in the company. Ethical data use helps prevent discrimination in AI systems and supports responsible business practices. It also builds stronger relationships with customers and helps solve societal problems without violating trust. Data ethics principles. Principles of data ethics with respect to how companies and artificial intelligence models use and maintain the data they collect include fairness, privacy, transparency, ownership, and accountability. Fairness. Fairness means making decisions without bias or unfairness. In AI and data, if the data used to train the system is biased, the AI's decisions can also be biased. To ensure fairness, check if the data has biases. Test the AI in different situations and with diverse people. Fix any biases found in the data. AI developers are working to make sure the data is more diverse to avoid bias. Privacy. Privacy includes two key aspects: anonymization and protection from unauthorized access. Anonymization. This is the process of removing personal identifiers from data. Methods include aggregating data, for example using age ranges, adding small changes to values, pseudonymizing data, replacing real names with random identifiers. However, anonymization can still be compromised through linkage attacks, where other data can identify individuals. Differential privacy adds noise to data to protect privacy, but it can reduce accuracy. Data protection. Data must be kept secure from unauthorized access, breaches, and leaks. This involves using encryption and access controls, limiting data access to only those who need it, with clear policies on when and how data can be accessed. Transparency. Transparency means clearly informing data owners about how their data will be collected, stored, secured, used, and shared. For example, websites using tracking cookies must inform users about how cookies collect data, explain how the data will be used, such as personalizing the user experience, allow users to decide whether to accept or decline cookies. Cookies are small data files used to identify users, track activities, and personalize website experiences, like remembering items in a shopping cart. Ownership. Individuals own the personal data they provide, whether it's through business transactions or social media interactions. They have the right to control, access, correct, and delete this data. Collecting personal data without consent is unethical and is considered stealing. Consent should be obtained in advance, such as through a signed agreement, privacy policy acceptance, or asking for permission to track online behavior with cookies. Additionally, before sharing personal data with third parties, organizations must seek consent and respect individuals' preferences on data sharing. Accountability. Accountability means organizations must take responsibility for how they handle personal data. If ethical violations or data breaches occur, they must correct the issue and address any harm caused to the data owners. Organizations are answerable for the consequences of their actions regarding data usage and protection. Personally identifiable information and the purpose of data protection regulations. Personally identifiable information (PII) is any data that can identify a person either on its own or with other information. While PII is used to verify identity, it can also be stolen by criminals for identity theft, leading to fraud, unauthorized purchases, or financial loss. Governments have introduced data protection laws to ensure that businesses properly secure PII. These laws focus on data privacy, controlling collection and use, and data security, protecting information from unauthorized access. However, individuals must also take responsibility for protecting their own information, avoiding scams like phishing and social engineering. Dumpster diving is sifting through a company's trash for information that can be used either to break into its computers directly or to assist in social engineering. Social engineering involves deceiving company employees into divulging information, such as passwords, usually through a fraudulent email, but it may be through something as simple as a telephone call. Phishing uses spam email to deceive consumers into disclosing their credit card numbers, bank account information, social security numbers, passwords, or other sensitive personal information. Data protection laws in the United States. The U.S. Constitution guarantees the right to privacy, but it mainly protects against government intrusion. To further protect personal information, the U.S. Congress has enacted several federal laws. FTC Act 1914 prohibits deceptive practices in privacy and data protection. It ensures companies follow their privacy policies but does not apply to all entities. Communications Act 1934 Protects data for communication entities like phone and cable companies. Fair Credit Reporting Act, 1970. Governs the use of information in credit reports. Cable Communications Policy Act, 1984. Protects subscriber privacy. Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, 1986. Prevents unauthorized access to computers. Electronic Communications Privacy Act, 1986. Protects electronic communications. Video Privacy Protection Act, 1988. Protects video rental or streaming privacy. Drivers Privacy Protection Act, 1994. Governs personal info from state DMVs. HIPAA, 1996. Regulates health information privacy. COPPA, 1998. Protects children's online privacy under 13. Graham-Leach-Bliley Act, 1999. Regulates privacy in financial institutions. Consumer Financial Protection Act, 2010. Addresses unfair financial services practices. Federal securities laws include data security and breach reporting requirements. Many states also have their own laws on data protection and data breach responses. Personal information protection in other countries. European Union. The General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, is a strict data privacy law in the European Union that applies to any company worldwide that processes personal data of EU citizens. Unlike the US, where businesses are generally allowed to use personal data with some regulation, Europe sees data privacy as a fundamental human right. The GDPR, effective since 2018, focuses on giving individuals control over their personal data, with rights including access, the right to view their personal information; correction, the right to correct inaccuracies in their data; portability, the right to transfer their data to another entity; erasure, the right to delete their personal information; consent, the right to control the use and sale of their data, including for advertising; appeal, the right to appeal a business's refusal of their requests. It also requires organizations to have a valid, legal reason for processing personal data, ensure data security, and notify users of data breaches. GDPR has influenced other countries, and many US states have implemented similar laws. These laws emphasize protecting privacy through rights-based frameworks. Australia. In Australia, personal information is protected by the Privacy Act of 1988, which regulates how personal data is collected, stored, used, and shared. This law applies to the federal government and private organizations. Later updates to the Act include rules for handling healthcare information and require organizations to take action if a data breach occurs. Canada. In Canada, the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, PIPEDA, governs how companies and organizations use personal information for business purposes. Personal information is defined as data that can identify an individual, either on its own or when combined with other information.